Okay. So one of the attributes of the Dharma, of the Buddhist teachings, is that a path is realized by each for oneself. In our words, the teachings ask you to become your own teacher. And we consider this a fundamental of reflective meditation practice. And I have found that language at times empowering and at other times confusing. It gives lots of room for meditators to focus on what matters to them. For instance, you can be in a group and not feel as much peer pressure to fall into a group think or comply with the cultural norms. So becoming your own teacher in that case, it's like an insurance policy for each one of us to put one foot in front of the other and really in sync with the conditions of our own lives. But it also can be an ideal of becoming one's own teacher can come with some consequences. And I think they're ones that we haven't been so aware of in our Sanghas and with our groups. So what happens when I become my own teacher? Do I abandon or leave the other teachers that have been important to me? Do they now become my spiritual friends? Are we peers? All sorts of relationship changes abound. And abounds need clarity and boundaries. When we start talking about empowering each other, we change the power differential within learning reflective meditation and learning the Dharma. So let me state what a power differential is. These aren't my words. These are a few that I've compiled from my study. A power differential is a situation where one person has advantage over another in terms of knowledge, resources, position, or status. And this can lead to a less empowered person feeling very vulnerable or out of sorts. And power differentials can impact people's ability to make ethical decisions. So good communication can help balance power differentials, hence why we're exploring this in relationship to the way we interact with each other in our Sanghas. So some people may just say, why are you talking about this, Linda? I just want to meditate. I just came here to sit this morning. But, why does it matter who's teaching who's a spiritual friend or not? But most of us come from teachers on the high chair. And when I was writing this, I just saw the image of a baby in a high chair with a rattle and a bottle and a little king's cap, So it's really, for me, an analogy of going from spoon feeding to feeding ourselves, this power differential change that we're experiencing in our community. We may not even be aware of it, and we may not be aware of how much we expect someone to take charge, telling us the right way to do things, the right way to practice, the right way to be in a group, or to not take charge, just leave us alone, let us play on our own. We've got things we're doing here and you're interrupting us. Like these things always come up, especially when we're learning how to practice together and not in just isolation and on our own. So how much and when we need teachers is actually what I'm trying to differentiate, what we're trying to talk about and kind of open up and explore. So what does our typical reflective meditation format when meditating with a teacher offer that's distinct? So I really had to think about this, and this is some of my free-form writing and just some of my thoughts at the moment. In our teacher-led reflective meditation groups, I see a kind of safety and comfort in knowing the common purpose. And that common purpose is to practice reflective meditation. There's boundaries of a kind of holding environment, which we talked a little bit about yesterday. And it's like a nest that doesn't need to be negotiated. We kind of know what we're doing together. We're creating an inner home to pay attention to any aspects of your life that come up in your meditation. including conflictual conditions, so you can give voice to your experience through journaling, through reflecting after your meditation. But there's no expectation to share in a reflective meditation group. It's voluntary. Hence, you hear a lot of pauses in our sharing during that last 10 minutes. People are thinking, do I want to bring what I just made myself aware of and started to give voice to? Do I want to bring that out to the group, to others? And so in that situation, we're giving deep listening and observation equal importance in the ways of participating. So just by showing up and listening, and really listening to people deeply, and observing what's going on, your own reactions, your own feelings, what's coming up for you, this is a way to participate in a reflective meditation group. But our peer groups are a little bit different. We give a different variation of equality and importance. Often they lean towards each person sharing their experience on a topic and trying to give everybody a chance to have their voice or an opportunity to share. And it feels different. It's a little bit of a different format in a peer group. So sharing your meditation experience, I think, is a practice in vulnerability. As we just said, a lot of pausing, reflecting, really wanting to understand, do I want to speak today or not? And because of that, we have we have expectations of those who are listening. And how I saw it this morning and how I would put it into words is that those who are listening are doing a practice of restraint. You're restraining giving your advice. You're restraining your agreement or disagreement in what you're hearing when someone's sharing. And this puts your reactions back into your own meditation practice and to reflect upon them after the group. And there's no doubt that this is a practice. It's such a reflexive habit to want to console others when you hear their dukkha or their pain or what they're sharing and it affects you deeply. It's to restrain your inspirational message that you might want to give them, or your agreement, or your disagreement, or your similar experience. We're really having you restrain all of this, which comes up quite naturally when you hear somebody talk about their experience. And additionally, we all have opinions when we hear something that's not quite to our sensibilities. And we're asking you to restrain your opinions and to keep them within your own practice, within your own understandings. So teacher-led groups are really a way to practice restraint and renunciation of the need to be right and the need to correct others' experience. That was kind of new for me to put it into that language and to see that we've been doing that over these years, and that practice does develop and grow into a restraint of your reactivity in your life. So this change in power differential that's been forming here in reflective meditation and really been forming since 2015-16 when we went on our own. As we said yesterday, it is a grand experiment. People becoming their own teachers, using each other as spiritual friends to see into parts of our experience that may be missed or ignored. Yet at the same time, we still have teachers and we're training teachers to continue our method. So here's where I got to the talk and I went, how do I end this? I have no idea. No, zero, zilch. But it felt like a parallel process to me of a grand experiment. You can't end it or conclude it because it's not done yet. We're still in the experiment. This is really something to open up and talk about and kind of have your own thoughts percolate and be contributed to these ideas. So I don't have any final word, but I am ending the talk now.